Hey guys, it's Ciaran here, and we got a roundtable discussion going on with people from College Pro Western Canada from Alberta and British Columbia, and we're just going to start talking and asking each other questions and hopefully learn something out of this. So first thing we'll do is introduce ourselves. I'll start. My name's Ciaran Olsen. I run a West Vancouver franchise for College Pro BC. And this is my third year doing it. It's October 10th, 2017, and it's just the end of the season here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey guys, I'm Drake. Was running East Vancouver this year with College Pro as well. And it was my first year in Vancouver. I moved out here from Calgary, and it was my first year with College Pro.
Cool.
Hey folks, my name's Alex. I'm the general manager for the Lower Mainland in British Columbia. It's my fourth year with College Pro. Been around a little bit, and yeah, excited to be here.
Alex P.
My name's Alex Pezzutto. I run a franchise in Lethbridge, so a small town in southern Alberta. Well, not small town, it's like 100,000 people. But it's my second year, going into my third. I'm also a franchise advisor. I coach some of the people in Lethbridge and Medicine Hat in the College Pro here.
Cool. Jesse?
Cool. My name is Jesse, and this is my third year running a franchise for College Pro, and I live in Victoria, BC.
Cool. Thanks, guys. We'll just get started with some questions. Jesse, why don't we ask you the first question? What's the most important thing you did in your business this year that you didn't do last year?
That's a good question. Probably I ran very similar businesses, but the number one thing that made a huge impact on my business was running Monday morning JSM meetings. So every Monday morning at 7:15, we just do a half an hour meeting with my upper level managers and job site managers, and we would just go over the game plan for the week, what people were supposed to be where, what jobs were going to close when. I'd have them all calculate when they, how much they want to be their budgets by, and then we'd just go over some inspirational things as well to end the meeting. So implementing that meeting was huge this year.
What did you see? What was the noticeable impact of that meeting every Monday morning?
I had quite a bit of turnover overall, but my core team pretty much stayed the same from like middle of April till all the way to the end of the year. Like my core, like 5, 6, 7 people were really solid. So we had a really strong culture, and even though we did have decent amount of turnover throughout the business, the culture was so intact from inside the core. So and I think those meetings had a huge part to it.
Cool. Thanks, Jesse. Drake, next question's for you. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
What I have for breakfast? Nothing, just water. I fasted after a long weekend of turkey dinner and maybe a little too much celebrating with family. So I got on the plane, fasted, and then got a smoothie from Body Energy when I got to Vancouver at like 4 o'clock.
What was in that smoothie?
It was bulletproof coffee, superfood, protein, some fats, dates.
What is bulletproof coffee exactly? I've seen the signs for it everywhere. I know it's popular. What is it actually?
Essentially coffee that's blended with a fat of some kind. So MCT oil or butter, preferably grass-fed, coconut oil, something like that. So you get a fat in there with your coffee, and it's going to give you a slow release of the caffeine.
Okay, cool. Question for you. So you're basically the number one rookie in revenue of all time, at least in BC. I don't know the exact stats, but you've definitely produced. Do you mind me asking what your revenue number is at right now for College Pro in sales?
Should be 280 by the end of the week.
280 by the end of the week. So I know last year, I think there was only about 30 to 40,000 worth of revenue produced in your turf, which is East Vancouver. And the year before that, there's maybe around 110,000. Mm-hmm. What was that like coming into a turf that hadn't been produced that much? And how did you get it? In a short answer, how did you get it to where it is now in such a short amount of time being a rookie?
Yeah, well, if you would have asked me at this time last year if I was going to do college pro, I probably would have thought you were crazy. So,
Hmm.
which is not that far from the season. Alex, being a buddy of mine, kind of recruited me into it, sold me on it eventually after a few attempts, and we just kind of set up a plan as to what that looked like. So how could I be successful? And I was working a full-time job last year in Calgary in a sales job, so that was cushy. Are we still connected? Can you still hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, we
We
just
can
lost
hear you.
you.
Austin, just mute your phone unless you want to talk, because like your screen keeps showing up as a phone. But welcome, Austin.
Yeah, we just
Got
lost visual.
I think if Austin, mute your line.
He's muted.
Okay. So yeah, me and Alex pretty much met and set up a business plan of what my revenue needed to look like for me to make it realistic, for me to move to Vancouver and take this on as like a full-time job compared to what I was doing last year in my sales. So we pretty much said, anything below my last year's salary, working in sales for Weber Vitamins, yeah, I couldn't have anything less than that because then I would be selling myself short. So we just, made up a plan, and this is what the numbers look like, and I just held myself accountable to go execute that. Essentially.
Did you hit your numbers?
Yeah, we hit the numbers, probably actually a little bit past.
Business plan was for 225, 230, somewhere around there.
So you overshot it by, I don't know, I'm not a numbers guy, but somewhere around 20% over what you needed to hit.
Yeah, about that. And again, just, having myself accountable to that and not taking anything less. So for me, the biggest things were drawing on my whys, which was I want to live out in Vancouver. Just have a few notes here. I wanted to live out in Vancouver because I feel like there's more opportunity for me here, and I like the lifestyle that brings. So, when times got tough, I would draw on things like music or podcasts, measuring myself against the top guys. So Ciaran, Jesse, Adrian, those types of people, seeing what those guys were doing that I wasn't doing, and then being objective about that versus getting down myself or thinking, I'm unworthy or that kind of stuff. Just really being positive and objective. That was key.
Okay, thanks. I'll ask you more questions in a bit, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, Alex P. You're in Lethbridge right now, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about Lethbridge. What's Lethbridge like?
Well, first off, I'm just going to say a question for Drake. So Drake, were you not in college pro at all before this? You just came out here and you just tried it?
Yeah, it was fresh, like no experience, never picked up a paintbrush.
He didn't even start till February. He didn't show up till February.
Yeah.
Then in that case, yes, you did totally set a record, because prior to that, the record for anyone who had not previously run a franchise was 253. So you blew it out of the water. Good job.
Thanks. Couldn't have done it without the support for sure.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, at least I held it for 1 year. So that's awesome.
You broke my record too, bud.
That's how we know. It was his record.
Good meeting you, Drake.
All right, Alex. So tell us a bit about what's it like in Lethbridge. What's going on there?
In as far as what's it like, what specific area?
What's it like living there? We're all over here in BC. What's Lethbridge like? Is it a small town? Is it is it all a farm town, or what's going on over there?
I mean, there's 100,000 people, so it's not that small.
Okay.
But at the same time, I can get from the furthest end to the furthest end in 20 minutes.
Okay. How does that have an impact? How does that impact? What's your college pro experience like? Just in a short 1 minute sum. What's your college pro experience been like?
Well, the past 2 years, my experience has been pretty freaking fantastic. I must say I had a bit of an advantage in that Lethbridge has a really good reputation. We had the pretty much the all-time record setter in here before me, and he just he was there for like 5 years. Ian just created a fantastic name for College Pro in the area. So that part has been really a huge blessing, that we already have a good reputation. A good name is worth more than gold. And that's why we have to keep our quality up. It's also nice because this is where I'm from. So I know the town already, which has been a huge advantage. I know where to go. I know, roughly the economic status of every area. And Lethbridge is also really nice because it's a smaller town. My turf, my area that I do all my painting in, has a very wide variety of houses. So some people I know in Calgary and Vancouver, they might have all new houses or all old houses. I've got everything from 100-year-old houses to year-old houses. So it gives me a really nice diversity in that sense. Plus, Lethbridge, a lot of Alberta was hit very hard due to the oil crisis in the past few years. Lethbridge has had the only positive growth economically in all of Alberta. So because we're a little more diverse and not dependent on oil, being so far south, or more of an agricultural and education-based industry, that's really helped as well.
It must have been because you're in there with College Pro, just totally boom, skyrocketed industry.
Yeah, maybe. Probably not.
Yeah. The first time I met you was in Austin, Texas for awards last January, I guess. And you'd done quite successful in your first year. And I remember specifically, you'd had the biggest goal that I ever heard anyone in College Pro even talk about. You wanted to do $1 million in revenue this year. And you've been super successful this year. You didn't hit that. But can you tell us a bit of what your thinking was behind like such a big number going in?
A few things. One, I had a friend who's he's a bit older than me, has done business longer than me, and he really encouraged me, saying, with the right mentorship, you could do 2 million. And I'm like, I don't quite think so, because that's never been done in College Pro. But he personally owns a painting company here in Lethbridge that's done 1.5 million. And he just doesn't really try. He only works 4 hours a day. So I'd hang out with him a bit. And so part of that was the inspiration. I realized if I set a high goal, and I did that my first year as well, if you aim high, you fall high. So I've never actually hit my goal either my first year or this year, but every time I've done quite well. But getting into it, when I realized I didn't actually have a solid plan to hit 1 million, I thought I did, but in a way, math is reality. And if you can't actually do the math and come up with a plan on how to do something, then your aspirations can outweigh your reality. And I realized I thought I had a plan that worked, but the numbers didn't actually work. And I had to put my foot to the pedal a little bit more than I thought I did in order to grow the business. So I ended up switching my goals partway through, and I decided, I just want to work a lot less and make at least the same amount of money, and be a better leader, be a better boss. And that's ultimately what's been really successful this year. I worked probably an average of 10 to 20 hours a week less this year. I made still the same amount, like 75, 80 grand. And most of my employees absolutely loved working for me. And many of them said it to my face and almost had me cry a few times. And so I felt very honored to be able to be a good boss and to get more time on the side so I can spend time with my wife and work on other pursuits as well.
Okay. We'll come back and ask a few more questions in a bit. Jesse Teron, you're pretty much outside of Alberta, I believe, either the first or one of a few that have hit $1 million in revenue in the first 3 years of doing the College Pro business. And not only that, you were also doing full-time school while you did this, and you traveled to Europe for 4 months on an exchange. And I know even this summer, I think you were taking 5 summer classes, and I think you're over $400,000 in revenue this year. Can you tell us a bit about just how did this happen? What did you do?
Yeah, I mean, first off, like, kudos to you too for doing the same thing with the 1 million in 3 years. That's huge, man. And
Thanks.
It was really you that led me to a big inspiration at Junior Treat, because had you and Adrian not kicked my ass at June retreat, I don't think we'd be sitting here having this conversation. So
maybe can you get into that a bit more? You've talked about it a couple of times. What specifically at June retreat changed in you that you decided to turn it on and like absolutely kill it and destroy it?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, so I was so in the preseason, I was actually doing some. I was working another part-time job as well, doing some consulting, business development stuff, and then starting in May, I was actually in six classes throughout the summer.
I apologize.
So yeah, putting about 40, 50 hours into that, and I was like super underperforming to my standards, and I think I was booked at 170,000 ish going into June retreat, which was, I think some rookies were trying to catch me and I was getting chirped pretty hard. And I kept making up these like basically bullshit excuses of why I was underperforming or this and that. And I remember Adrian was just absolutely tearing into me the entire week, and it kind of like snapped me out of it. And then to hear, I mean, you were almost at 300K at that point. So like way ahead of me. And you kept talking about how you're going to be hitting the million mark and seeing how much drive you had towards it and the passion you had for it. It really just sparked this fire on me that I was like I'm going to do this or I'm going to die trying. And that's literally what I wrote on my book. I had hit 405. You can see on my whiteboard here, it says, we will hit 405. Can you read that there?
Yeah,
we'll hit 405,000 college pro, or we'll die trying, and that's been written on my board since the day after June retreat. So
okay, well, good thing you didn't die. So
yeah. So, but yeah, just that mentality. So, anyways, so I had 6 classes throughout the summer, and then also, I've been kind of doing some part-time work with another company as well. So I did 4 trips. I was in Orlando in January, San Diego in April, Chicago in July, and then I just got back from Denver last week. So how I did it, I look back on it and I have no freaking idea, really. It's one of those things that you don't really realize, what you're doing when you're in it.
What were you doing at 2 p.m. today?
I was playing golf with my parents.
Today at 2 p.m. you're playing golf, and you're also doing a full-time job and breaking a record. What were you doing last weekend? Were you with your family for Thanksgiving?
I ran the full marathon on Sunday. So I did that, but my parents flew in on Sunday as well. So yeah, it's been a busy week. But yeah, it was just, I don't know, it just came down to a ton of priority management. Sunday nights was so key. Breaking it down, like business analysis, spending 4 to 6 hours every single Sunday night, just getting all the data in, and then that way I could actually analyze the business, see where I was spending my time, review the last week, where did I put my time, and then just making a plan and then just executing on it. And yeah, between June and the end of July, it was consistently 12 to 16 hour days every day. And just, if it wasn't, the hardest part was having such 2 big focuses, such as like school and college pro, like going back and forth. So sitting in class and phone just going nuts with work things, with college pro things, that I just had to like try to leave it and put it there. And I was like, okay, like, I block schedule it and I'll deal with it when I have it in my schedule. But trying to bounce back and forth, there was a thing that was starting to drain me. So I really made a conscious effort to, it was school, it was work in the morning, then like school for, mid-morning, early afternoon, and then work for the late afternoons and evenings, and then school at night. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I know I was on the phone with a mutual friend of ours, and he said that he ran the marathon in Victoria on the weekend with you. And I remember about a month, like how many weeks ago was over on the island when I saw you? About 4 weeks ago, maybe?
Yeah, 4 weeks ago. Yeah.
So 4 weeks ago, you could barely walk because your foot had gone messed up somehow. And like you thought you weren't going to be able to run that marathon. Like, how did you pull together that? How is your foot?
Foot's actually fine. Yeah, I couldn't walk on it for like 4 days. And then the first run I did after that, I pulled my hamstring. That was only 2 weeks ago. And luckily the conference I was at, there was 200 physical therapists, so I kind of had a bunch of treatment and everything. And so I was not like, I was so undertrained and underprepared for it. It was just like, it was all mental. Just kind of the same thing with college pro in school this year. It's all just been 100% mental and in the head.
Sounds like you spend a lot of time strategizing, even though you're so busy. You had 4 hours every Sunday to figure out your stuff, and then every Monday morning you're meeting with your team and going over things where I know even myself, sometimes like, we don't have time to talk. We got to sell, or we got to paint, or whatever it is. So
yeah, it's super, super important to take that eagle vision view frequently.
Okay. Thanks, Jesse. We'll get back to you in a bit here. Okay. Alex Rabu. Alex Rabu's been my general manager, as well as quite a few of the guys on this call. And can you tell us how your division did this year overall, revenue wise, if you're allowed to share that, Alex, or ballpark?
Yeah, totally. So the big thing is we're not done yet, but it's looking like we're going to wrap up $2.8 million of the revenue, which is pretty good for a division. What's really good is the averages, the amount of people we have. So
what's the average?
Yeah, so right now we're at 198,000 average revenue per franchisee in the division. And so I'm hoping to break $200,000 revenue average, because when you run a program like that, the results speak for themselves. And I don't mean for me, I mean people will be lining up to want to be on this team if you can advertise that properly. So we've gotten to a point where people aren't taking this casually. People are taking this very, very seriously. And that's been a shift that I've seen happen since I've been in college pro, partly because of myself, but mostly because of the people who have come in. The right people have been attracted.
Okay. How do you find the right people?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Experience and faith. And when you look somebody in the eyes and you care about them and you want to see them develop and you know that they're capable of it, you need to convince them of a future which has yet to take place. You need to place them into a dream that they haven't had yet. So for instance, with Drake, we were friends for a while, but he wasn't thinking of college pro. The idea of running a painting business didn't really align. And I had to see Drake in this future and in this role, and I had to sell him that vision of the future so that he could see it in himself, at least a little bit. And at some point, he said, okay, let's do this. But it didn't take me finding out if this was a great fit for Drake. I had to have the confidence to know it was. Same thing with all the great people on the team. And then I had to sell them on it. And after selling them on it and helping coach them through it, the results are there. And they're not my results. They're the results of the individuals. So that gives me a lot of faith for the next generation.
Who do you look up to for inspiration, or what do you look up to for inspiration?
Honestly, man, I look up to every single person that's in this division. I look up to all the members of the team, because everybody on this team has something that I don't have. And I'm very good at some things. I'm good at the inspiration. I'm good at the dream. I'm good at selling people when it's really, really hard to believe in themselves and get back up. But I'm not good at a SWOT. Organization, attention to detail, sitting down and doing the boring thing that needs to be done because it's the right thing to be done. I'm not good at all of those. And in each person in the division, I get to see people who are really great at all these different things. And so I've become a lot more whole and complete and a lot more educated, the way I would try to explain education, by surrounding myself with people that are masters of their craft in their own ways.
Okay. Thanks for sharing, Alex. I actually just realized my first time doing Zoom for a long period of time, and 7 minutes my free account runs out and I have to pay a year membership to continue. So we're going to do this rest of this interview in 7 minutes here. And if we can maybe just connect in 2 more minutes. Someone else can just start a new one. But Austin, we're going to ask you some questions now. Where are you located, Austin? Your microphone.
Hey, Ciaran. I'm in Surrey, man.
Okay. How's it going on in Surrey?
Surrey's great. I live just outside of Surrey, and Surrey's there's more than 500,000 people in the city.
Okay.
So I'm super lucky, just like having this turf. I think it's like 3 turfs or something in one. So I'm super blessed.
I know, like last year, I believe, Alex, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there was anybody even in Surrey for College Pro. There was nobody. And do you mind sharing what you've done this year, revenue-wise?
I
Or
think
ballpark?
so far we're at 270 to 280 right now.
Okay, cool. How was it going into a turf that had pretty much zero marketing and drumming up $280,000 worth of painting revenue?
Well, is really interesting, and it's been such a great process. I haven't even thought about the fact that nobody's been in here. I haven't even had that on my mind. One of my goals this year is, in terms of the marketing, was just trying to hit every single house in the city. And the way we started that was, I had a couple marketers from last year, and I set up a little system with them. We did like 4 days a week. I marketed with them 4 days a week from like January from January till April. And we just did the same thing every week. And I don't know, it's just all a numbers game. It's quite simple, and you just got to knock on more doors, and you just got to do more. So it was a lot of fun, and it was funny, like just an ongoing joke that I had throughout the whole preseason was at the end of January. I think it finished up snowing or something like that, and I said to the boys, I was like, "Hey boys, this is it. Like it's not going to be raining anymore." And that rain continued for like 2 or 3 more months, but it was a lot of fun then. A lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, I think what was your revenue last year, if you don't mind me asking, just to know what the difference was?
About 157.
157, and now you're gonna probably get to around 300 this year. So that's almost double your business. What was the main difference between last year and this year?
The main what?
What was the main difference between this year and last year that like you can almost double your business in 1 year?
The differences, they really came from, I think, just more drive and like a more emotional stability, just like controlling my emotions more. And, you know, when you can control your emotions more, you can just have like more going on and having a few more systems in place.
Yeah. So, what do you mean by emotions? Like, did you have roid rage last year? I know you're a pretty big guy, but we can't see you on camera, so you got to be a bit more detailed.
Yeah, no. I think when it comes to emotional stability for me, it comes down to like just like the basic, the few pillars in our lives. So like the sleeping, the eating. Just got into working out like a month and a bit ago, and I think just like making sure that those get the time that they need. And then everything else just seems to fall into place. I don't really have a hard time with, you know, drumming up a lot of drive to go out and do things. But when I'm not filled up, I'm disastrous, absolutely disastrous. So those are the big things. Just like being a little bit more selfish with my time and just doing what I need to do, so I can help other people.
Okay, thanks, Austin. We only got like just over 2 minutes, 30 seconds left till my free account runs out, and so we gotta ask a couple more questions. So I'm just gonna go through some questions here. People can just answer them as I go. Jesse or anybody, what's one book that you would recommend? Anyone who wants to talk can just say.
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. Ditto. Yeah.
Okay.
Read it, and then listen to it in audiobook. You get kind of both.
Also, the power of intention. The power of intention.
Power of intention. Okay,
really good.
How about Drake or any of the Alexes? A movie recommendation?
Straight Line Persuasion. It's really good for selling. Jordan Belfort. Yeah.
Cool. Any last comments? We got less than a minute here. Besides that, I should get my meeting planning more organized to know that I have to pay. Any advice to give to people going into next January 2018? Anything anyone want to say quick in 5 seconds?
There's only one way to do it right, and I think everyone here can attest, and it's you have to get obsessed with it. You can't dabble. You need to throw everything at it. And college pro is the experience of betting on yourself. It's like going to the craps table and putting them all on red and saying, I'm red. And if you believe in yourself and you give it everything you've got, if you make your business partly your identity, then there's no way you can fail.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Ciaran.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to kick us off or what, but yeah.
We're going to restart it, hey?
Sure. Let's do it. Okay, I'm going to stop this, and yeah, thank you guys.
All right, cheers, man. Peace.
Bye.